Alex, you forgot I lost telepathy like 3 years ago.
I was trying to do this review underwater, man, because we were talking about Aquaman.
I know you wanted to talk to the fish about this, but unfortunately, 3 years ago, I hit my head. I lost my telepathy. Sorry about that. I wanted to be Professor X too. Okay, I wanted to be Professor X, and it didn't work out.
And what do they call you? Wheels.
What do they call you? Wheels. So yeah, welcome everybody to our. In case you guys didn't get the hint of wanting to do the review underwater, welcome to Aquaman, the one movie that I think got the most hate before it even came out. Like for 6 to 12 months, everybody was like, "Oh, Aquaman's gonna be bad. Aquaman's definitely gonna be bad. It's a DC movie, ergo they're all bad except for Wonder Woman."
Yeah.
Oh, so you have one exception. There might not be more than one.
I don't know. Maybe Wonder Woman softened the. I can't honestly recall a lot of the because you're right. I think there definitely was some negativity floating around for Aquaman.
There was,
but I wonder if kind of Wonder Woman might have softened it up a bit, saying, well, maybe there's something here. But you're totally right, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think another thing that actually did a lot of it was the trailers that came out really close to its release.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually got to see what Aquaman was going to be about. Because here's the thing that happened with a lot of DC fans who saw that Aquaman was going to be a movie, and they all had kind of my reaction, which is like, especially when a certain poster came out, it was like, oh no, you have the 80s or the 80s and 90s costume. Is this going to be buying into a lot of the 80s and 90s bullcrap about Aquaman? And that was kind of the thing that a lot of us were worried about.
Right.
But as you guys will find out, there's actually more to this movie than even we thought that there was going to be. So without further ado, let's get into the positives of Aquaman. What did we think? Well, I guess, so where were you at walking into it and then walking out?
I guess I didn't know really what to expect because I don't know anything about Aquaman, to be honest. I know there's the stereotypes.
You're kind of a little past the Super Friends era.
Yeah. We are the Super Friends.
Yeah, you're a little past that point.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I've seen the countless parodies, but I have to figure there's probably more to the hero than that.
Yeah. Well, for the longest time, that was that, at least as far as TV was concerned. The comics had a lot more going for him, but...
Yeah, so I don't think I had huge expectations. I mean, there's obviously the cloud of, okay, this is we're still in kind of the shambles of the Warner Brothers and DC trying to patch together their so shaky universe here. And
yeah.
So it's like, how's that going to affect it? I mean, but Wonder Woman at least was good. So it's like, maybe Aquaman will be okay.
And here's the thing, like Wonder Woman got crap too.
Sure.
I remember a lot of people had problems with Ares. So much so that when I try to have an argument going, well, Wonder Woman's still good. No, it isn't. No, it had Ares with a mustache. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, he still felt like Ares to me. But yeah, so positives walking into it, like, what did this film do right in your eyes?
The sound of music in particular, I think, is really good because you kind of get that weird electronic hum a lot of the times when the lights in the water and everything kind of comes out. I think giving us a bit of an origin for Aquaman was interesting because I don't know anything about this character.
Not a whole lot of people do. And then actually, I might be wrong about this because, again, DC Comics I'm not as familiar with, and Aquaman, I know some of the plot lines they've done with him, but not anything modern. Mm-hmm. So if this is a modern take on his origin, I am not aware of that. This was a whole new origin as far as I was concerned.
Okay.
Some parts were right, like his mother is Atlantean and his father is human, but then they added little twists here of like his dad was I think Alaskan or Samoan, and so at that point that's why Jason Momoa looks the way he does. And then not only was his mother Atlantean, but the way that I understand it, his mother was Atlantean, but she was kind of a diplomat. She was because there is a caste system in Atlantis, and so she would be like the smart caste, roughly. She's not a warrior, she's a magician, ergo a diplomat. Okay. And in this one, they decided to make her a badass, which, considering that Nicole Kidman was playing her, was probably a good decision.
Yeah, I liked Nicole Kidman as the mother. She was really good in the role.
Yay, she's not just known as Batgirl number 3.
That was Alicia Silverstone.
No. I mean Bat. You
Yeah,
get what I mean.
Bat-girlfriend, you mean?
Vicky Vale number 3. Let's put it that way. Like there's Vicky Vale in movie 1, and then I think it's Selena Kyle in 2 because I've never seen Batman Returns, and then it's
wow.
no, I've never seen it.
Goodness,
I've never seen the first one. I've seen pieces of the first one, but yeah, she's the one in Batman Forever.
Yeah.
All right, and so I'm glad that she now has a little bit more of a badass origin that people can go to in the DC universe, even though the movies are not connected. Although we might get to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
What else did I like about the movie? Generally the effects are all right.
All right.
Some of the underwater's a bit too hazy, but otherwise it's mostly fine. Willem Dafoe's great. It's nice to see him back again.
It was interesting to see Willem Dafoe not a villain.
Yeah.
I literally had to think about it in my head when I was watching the movie, just like, when was the last time I actually saw Willem Dafoe and he wasn't the bad guy? or a bad guy?
Yeah.
And I had to think about it. I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Because like at this point, I was like, well, Green Goblin happened, and then this movie. No, he was still kind of the bad guy in that movie too.
Yeah. Even in The Fault of Our Stars, he's kind of a jerk.
Yeah. So poor Willem Dafoe. And the other thing that I'll also compliment a little bit is Willem Dafoe did a good job. Dolph Lundgren was strangely surprising. He actually like felt right in the unit, like his character made sense. He played it well. It felt like a evil Aragorn kind of character, but I was like, wow, Dolph Lundgren in a good movie. I don't know what to think about this. And before people start screaming at me, Masters of the Universe was good. No, it wasn't. And I've never seen Rocky 4, so I can't vouch for that one.
Well, I thought you made your way through all the Rocky movies by now.
No, I made my way for the first 2, and I'm making my way through 3. But then Kid happened, and that kind of stopped. Yeah. But no, I'm still making my way through because I want to watch Creed 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was another surprising one. Another positive for you.
Jason Momoa is great.
A lot better than I think a lot of people thought.
Yeah. I mean, I liked him enough in Justice League and his he didn't have much to do in Batman v Superman. I don't remember.
No, he wasn't in it.
Oh. No.
He was one of the hints.
Oh yeah, he's just a cameo, that's right.
Yeah, and in Justice League this is bad of me to say, but he was relegated off to being more of a brute, more of a comic relief character.
Yeah.
And so in this case, Jason Momoa was allowed to shine a lot more in this movie than I think he was in Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
Aquaman has moments in Justice League, but a lot of them are silly moments. So yeah, I'll give you that. Like Jason Momoa's performance is actually really good.
Yeah.
Considering.
I think that's kind of wrapping up my positives for now.
So for my positives, I really didn't have a complaint with any of the cast members, any of the major cast members. Nicole Kidman did a great job in her role. I'm not remembering the guy's name off the top of my head who actually played Black Manta. That worked out really, really well. And actually, I was really kind of worried about that because I knew that they were going for 2 villains in this. And I'm like, oh crap, we're going into Spider-Man syndrome all over again. And they actually did what Spider-Man movies couldn't. They actually acknowledged the Black Manta was not the focus, and he had one fight scene and he was out. He didn't show up again until the Easter egg. And that's the way that you should do it.
Well, Black Manta kept showing up from time to time because he showed up in Greece, in like Athens or wherever.
Yeah, that was the last time he showed up though.
Yeah, so he came in a bit
and I would actually say that's like the 50% point in the movie. So after that point, until the Easter egg, you didn't see Black Manta, which is the way it should be. Like if you're you have to have a main villain, and then all the other villains are basically kind of highlights that you would see later. And that's where I think Aquaman did it better than say like Spider-Man, where there was too much focus on, if there was 3 villains, there was too much focus on all 3. And ergo, you had no reason to get invested in any of them.
Yeah, but I've seen this done better. I know you haven't seen it, but I have seen it many times. I think Batman Forever did it fine with the 2 villain dynamic.
That's one of the few
kind of a
examples.
three.
That's one of the few examples I would say yes.
Actually, kind of a 3-villain dynamic when you think of Christopher Walken. Just he's not one of the comic book villains. He's invented
Wait,
for the
Walken
movie.
is in.
Yeah.
Oh wait, hold on. There's
He's-
Tommy Lee Jones. There's Jim Carrey. Who did Walken play?
He just played an original character called Max Shrek.
Okay, no, so he was like the gangster.
He's not a gangster. He's a businessman who's kind of like he wants to kind of usurp the mayoral position. So he kind of helps Penguin because he wants to make Penguin
That's
the
Penguins
mayor.
in Batman Returns.
Yeah, I'm saying Batman Returns.
Oh, you said Batman Forever.
I didn't say Forever. I said Returns.
Because I was agreeing with you. Like the two villain dynamic in Forever works. In a weird way. Like I can't even describe it, and it looks like you couldn't get it to happen again because Tommy Lee Jones hates Jim Carrey. But yeah, that one worked. I can't vouch for Returns and Forever. Like and Batman and Robin. No, that didn't work at all.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age.
No, I like. Okay, I'm not saying Uma Thurman doesn't have good roles elsewhere, but she was a horrible Poison Ivy, and Arnold Schwarzenegger was a horrible Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
But anyway, so other positives that I have, I have no problem saying that this movie floored me. I literally walked out of it and was just like, what on earth did I just watch? Because this was not what I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way I know how to describe it for people, and this is how I've been telling people, is we made a lot of comparisons to Wonder Woman being the DC equivalent of Captain America, the first Avenger.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what it is. In this case, Aquaman is the Thor of DC.
Reminds me more of Black Panther, but okay.
You could sub in Black Panther for that as well. But to me, like the reason that I go with Thor is because of the wonder of the various kingdoms and being able to go and explore them all, which is kind of what Thor did.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to be able to explore Niflheim as well as Midgar, obviously, and Asgard. So you got to see like multiple worlds. And if you look at it, each kingdom in Aquaman is its own world. And that's the best way to look at it. Atlantis felt different than going to the kingdom of the deserters. Atlantis felt different from going to the kingdom of the I think it was called like the Kingdom of the Reef, where like it was a bunch of fish people, roughly. Not the evil fish people, but the good ones. You had different feels for each of those kingdoms, and that's what I appreciated out of it. And that's why it feels like Thor to me. It feels like wonderment. Not saying the Black Panther doesn't have that. Black Panther had Wakanda. That was the reveal there.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, that's another really great positive. I do like the fact that the villains were handled the way that they were, because in all honesty, if you're going to do an origin story, Black Manta is a good recurring villain for Aquaman, but Orm was the way to go. Like, he is the origin villain. He is the stepbrother who is trying to become the ocean master and therefore take control of Atlantis and kind of have that whole why Aquaman is necessary.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't get this because of the comics, but Aquaman served as not only a superhero, but also as the diplomat between the United Nations and Atlantis.
Right.
Okay? Because he was the only thing keeping Atlantis from invading to reclaim the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so this actually did a really good job of showing that if Orm had become the Ocean Master and what he would have unleashed upon the world, it showed why Arthur Curry was necessary.
Right.
So it gave a purpose there. And I really appreciated that. I also love a lot of the CG work that they were able to pull off. The ones that I'm trying to remember, not the deserters, but basically the Bermuda Triangle ones, the ones that looked like lanternfish that were really creepy.
Yeah.
That last one that they go to, that last kingdom, that was really freaky to be able to go through. And then also going through that final trial of him claiming his trident and actually talking with the Leviathan that was guarding it via telepathy. That was really well done. But yeah, overall, my positives are kind of what you like. Overall, the movie worked. There are almost every element kind of worked into it. I wasn't a big fan of the music, but there were tracks that I loved out of it. So we've talked the positives. Let's talk the negatives. What did this film do wrong?
Okay. Structurally, I have problems with the film overall.
Okay.
Black Manta in particular, I just felt like he didn't either he should have just been the sole focus, or he didn't need to be the villain at all, or show up much beyond the first scene. Because after that, I'm just like, why are you here? You're just slowing the story down for an obligatory action piece. And so I would have personally just said, okay, you have the opening scene, and then we come back to him later, not later, but like at the end to kind of tease for the next Aquaman movie, saying,
yes,
okay, Black Manta's up next here. And I think we should have,
which is what they should have done, because at that, like, I'm not saying that you're wrong, but having Ocean Master and Black Manta in a movie, both are subtle manipulators, would not have worked. But I can agree with your sentiment too. It actually would have been better, in my opinion, if in Italy he didn't have the full-on Black Manta armor yet, if he had some kind of a weird prototype.
Even then, I just say he shouldn't have been there at all. I just feel like
you could have easily done that too. Like, he got the money, and he just, like, at this point, we can assume for the rest of the movie he's just sitting there building shit, you know?
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I do think that it's necessary that you do the scene where he got given Atlantean tech, because that's how he builds the Black Manta suit. But after that, I kind of agree with you. You could do that. You could do that, and you could have him until the Easter egg, and then at that point, it's like, oh, shit. You know, now we have the Black Manta to worry about, and this is a whole other problem.
Yeah. And I think because of that, the movie is kind of feels a little fragmented and pragmatic, because you get a little bit of, it keeps bouncing a little bit between origin and present day, and it's a little hard to follow. And again, because I think Aquaman just isn't well known outside the stereotypes, this might have been a good time to really give the more fleshed out origin. I mean, we do get a good origin because we understand.
The other thing that they could have done was they didn't need to have, like, I appreciate that Manta was in the Italy scene just because you needed to have a big bad for Aquaman to fight. But I think one of the things they didn't acknowledge was that he hadn't fought Atlantean guards yet. And so the Atlantean guards could have been that.
Yeah.
And showcased what he could have done. And then at that point, if you wanted to do Manta later, like, you could build up to it.
Yeah.
And in fact, he did have a little bit of a fight with Manta. So you already have that, and I kind of see it from your point of view. I like the Manta scene in Italy, but I can kind of see it from your point of view too. Like, if they'd held back and just let him build an army, because that's the other thing that makes Manta cool, is like he builds an army.
Yeah.
He has an army of mercenaries that work for him. So it would have been cool to instead of have the Easter egg of him fixing the armor, instead him working out a deal with all of the pirates to get an army. That probably would have been better.
Yeah, I think that would have been the best, and have more of Aquaman's origin, right? From his childhood, where he kind of realizes his gifts, that he's special and he can communicate with all the fish in the sea, and
I would have liked a little bit more bonding with him and Willem Dafoe.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
Especially that too. Like, I
just
want to see
because
his training.
Like you go from one training scene to now he realizes that he's scum to them. You know, like that. It would have felt more of a bigger reveal if they'd had more bonding segments with Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
Maybe even had him bond with Arthur's dad. Like that would have been cool to me too.
Yeah. And that makes me think, like, back to Daredevil, the Ben Affleck movie, where you do get to see the full young Matt Murdock kind of train himself and learn to hone his skills and all that. And I think that's...
And even that's wrong.
Yeah, that's wrong, because I know he had like
you didn't have Stick.
He has like a sensei in the comics, right?
Yeah, named Stick.
Stick. Okay.
Yeah, so like people who are thinking like, oh no, he didn't have his stick. No, he didn't have Stick.
He didn't have Stick.
Yes, he didn't have the guy who was actually training him.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of what we needed with the mentor, obviously included, because we had Willem Dafoe as his character.
Well, there's just a lot of ground to cover. Like, you know, the thing that they kind of brushed over was that Arthur does not realize that he is the child of two kingdoms. he is the child of man, but he is also the child of Atlantis.
Yeah.
And so they didn't really explore the fact that, yeah, he's not your average kid. And I'm not saying that we needed more moments like from Man of Steel where, you know, Clark saves the bus. I'm saying you needed more moments where he actually like tried to experiment with swimming underwater and seeing what actually happened there.
Yeah.
And more training with crap, I can't remember Willem Dafoe's character, but like having more with that would have been awesome. And maybe even more kind of alluding to like not just necessarily promise like you will see your mom, but maybe say like, well, your mom's in some trouble kind of thing. And then at that point you can do the reveal of no, she's been executed.
Yeah.
That probably would have had a lot more weight to it.
Yeah, I really think so. And I can't help but think it might be just because people say they're sick of origin stories, but I don't think that's the case. People are just tired of origin stories of characters they know. We know Spider-Man, we know gets bitten by a radioactive spider. We know Batman, parents get shot and killed. Okay, we don't need to see them again, but Aquaman again.
But I do like these deviations from the like if you look at movies like Iron Man and Captain America, there is a formula that goes into the origin story. And but here's the thing. Doctor Strange happened that changed how an origin could be told. And now you actually have more origin stories, or at least similar origin stories, branching out from that. I would actually say Black Panther does that, even though his origin was in Civil War.
Yeah.
This was more not necessarily an origin on Black Panther. This was an origin on Wakanda itself.
And what is his name? Killmonger?
Killmonger as well as the society that was Wakanda. So at that point, it wasn't telling us about T'Challa. We knew about T'Challa.
Yeah.
It was telling us what we didn't know.
Yeah.
So at that point, it's an interesting derivative of the origin story.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say Aquaman kind of goes out of there too, mixing it with elements of like Indiana Jones, of actually having to try and find this mystical and mythical trident.
Yeah.
You know, so that he can become the king of the seas. In fact, that's one of the things that I did appreciate as well, is like we got very little time with him having the trident and being as powerful as he was with that thing. He just comes in near the end and that's what you get.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It leaves a lot to be desired. It leaves a lot for an Aquaman too. Because here's the thing. Manta only fought him when he didn't have the trident. Now it's going to be a much more epic fight with the trident.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. But anyway, other negatives that you have.
Didn't need the big old war scene, Lord of the Rings war scene, with giant creatures and all that. Should have just been a fight between him and...
I would have wanted one eventually. I don't know if I needed it the first movie, but I would have wanted one.
Yeah, I feel like, again, that's sequel territory. Just keep it a little more simple, guys, for your first movie. There's no need to, save... I'd save a little
Let's
bit.
just be honest. Like, the reason that the war scene exists was because they wanted to take that huge behemoth that Arthur fights and have it fight for him, kind of thing. That's why it existed. Because as soon as that thing shows up, the war's pretty much over.
And again, Black Panther did it. So
Black Panther did it too. But yeah, I mean, negatives for me. Here's the thing. Negatives for me are, even though I was surprised with this film and how well it did, you're bringing up a lot of good points.
Mhm.
They could have changed the story just that much more, and it would have been a little bit more compelling. It would have built for more sequels. My guess is the reason they did that was because DC didn't have enough confidence in Aquaman. And so at that point, they put all their eggs in one basket. And now that it's successful, they're kind of sitting there clambering going, what the hell do we do?
Yeah.
So that's probably going to bite them in the ass. But I mean, you're making a lot of good points. They could have done this slight change and it would have impacted the plot even more.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I was subtly surprised with what I got. But you're bringing up a lot of good ideas that could have made it just that much better. So I think we've gone over the positives and we've gone over the negatives. Final score on this thing. Where does Aquaman rate?
Ultimately, I did enjoy it. So for me, it's a 7 out of 10.
All right. I'm going to go a little bit higher. I'm actually going to go 8.5. I do despite the changes that they could have done to the origin, and I agree with you on them. This was such a surprise to me. I really did think that especially when you saw the Justice League trailer and you saw the joke, I see you can talk to fish. I'm like, oh shit, that's what Aquaman's gonna be. And Justice League did not ease my concerns on that, even with an underwater scene. Oh, and I guess we should mention this too before I get my final score. There was another negative, which was a continuity hiccup, and that was you can definitely tell that this movie was written before Justice League came out, because there is a bit of a continuity hiccup where they mention Steppenwolf and they mention the events of Justice League, and then they never mention it again throughout the rest of the movie. So that's another negative that I'll bring up here, is that the continuity had a hiccup and it needed to be fixed, but it wasn't a big one. But overall, it was an amazing adventure for me to be. It actually got me to go and read an Aquaman comic during my holiday break.
Nice.
Like, it really did. So at that point, it succeeded in what it was supposed to do. So I'm going to give it a B+. I really do think that this was a much better interpretation than I was expecting, which I was expecting, especially after that poster reveal, was more 90s. I could talk to fish, everybody. And that's not what we got with Jason Momoa. So I'm at least pleasantly surprised with it. And if we were actually going to spend money on this, how much would we recommend people spend?
Well, at this point, if you really want to see...
So, fun fact, we're actually recording this 4 weeks after we actually saw the movie. Holidays can do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's February. The Blu-ray's probably due in like 2 weeks.
Let's go back into the Wayback Machine, and it's popular again. Would you actually recommend that people go to do prime time, or would you say stick to matinee?
Stick to matinee if you're unsure of it, because if you're diehard Aquaman, probably you'll enjoy it anytime. But I think for anybody else who's still weary on the whole DC film library here, stick to matinee.
Unlike Wonder Woman, who I think could be worthy of matinee or primetime, either way, with anybody you take, Aquaman, I will definitely say you need to have the right audience for primetime to work. All right. And so the best example that I'm going to give is like you have to have a DC Comics fan that's going with you. Otherwise, some people are just going to be like, why do I care about Fishman? You know?
Yeah.
And that would be definitely a problem I could see happening. So I would say matinee it, but primetime it if you have the right people going with you. Then you'll have fun. As far as like 3D or Atmos or anything like that,
not really.
I'm pretty sure with 3D it would look okay, but I wouldn't. I'm not interested, kind of thing. And I guess that does it for our review of Aquaman. So thank you guys so much for watching our review. Thank you guys so much for your continued love, support, and patience. We really do appreciate it. And when we come back, even though we're 4 weeks late, it's time for us to go over the best and worst of 2018. We'll see you then.
See ya.